Welcome to the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Christian Fisher, and today we have a real treat for you. I have a good friend of mine, Chef James Connolly, on, and you got to be amazed about what he did in his career. Hello again. I'm your host, Christian Fisher. This is the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show, and I'm feeling honored. I have a very special guy here for you guys today. He's not only a personal friend of mine, he's also one of the guys I look up to. Even though he never knew it, I always looked at him as one of our mentors. Chef James Connolly has been in the industry 50 years. Can you imagine being 50 years in this industry? And today he manages 84 locations, 150 million plus in business. Chef, and my head is off. I'm excited to have you today. Tell everybody about Chef James Connolly.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Christian. I am deeply honored to be one of your guests. And actually, humility seems to be one of my stronger traits. So trying to be humble. And when you hear that amount of years experience, when you hear 50 years, it's like, oh my God, this guy should be retired. I'll share with people I'm 64. I consider myself a young 64. Been able to, knock on wood, keep myself healthy, always been athletic. So Christian and I were talking off camera a little while ago about how a lot of our colleagues retire or have to look for something new to do at a fairly young age, because that 16 to 18-hour day on your feet tends to do a lot of work on your knees and your hips and so forth. So I attribute my lower body strength to, I've been a goalie for 40 plus years. So that little bit of beer hockey, as much as it drives my family crazy that I'm going out at all hours with my hockey bag, it's either my hockey bag or my knife kit. So those are my two passions. So at the end of the day, and in 50 years, it's funny because I kind of talked with my team members and my colleagues about, I've been there, I've done that, or I've done that twice, So it's not being a braggart. It's about just sharing your experiences. And hopefully what comes from our conversation today is I may be able to help somebody with that aha moment.
I absolutely love that. So help our listeners to understand a little bit your background. How did you go and get into the culinary industry? How did it all get started for you?
So I have it's not like a canned experience but a lot of chefs, I started as a dishwasher, 14 years old, excuse me, local restaurant, had no idea that culinary was going to be my vocation. I was just looking to make some pocket money. So I spent 3 months as the dishwasher, and I'll attribute my work ethic to my dad, who always taught me, 8 hours work for 8 hours pay, never be looking to slack or looking to dodge work. So I actually had fun as the dishwasher and was cleaning the station and just really rocked that position. And to my benefit, the pizza guy gave his notice. So the chef said to me, "Hey, kid, you want to learn how to make pizza? Well, anything to get out of the dish pit." So 6 months, I was hand tossing pies, having a lot of fun, mastered the pizza station. And again, just due to that hard work ethic that was instilled in me, and understanding that if you want to move up in the culinary chain in the place, you've got to kill the job you're in. So another excuse me, another 6 months goes by, and the fry cook gives his notice. Happened to be the week before Lent. So my baptism in the fry station was Lent. So I learned how to fry seafood a la minute, covered with clam fry mix and egg wash and the whole gamut. But again, had a lot of fun. And now I'm 15 years old, and I understand that this could be what I do for a living because I was passionate about it. So now it came time to go to high school, and I picked a vocational high school, a regional vocational high school. My hometown went to triple sessions in the regular high school, and it was a bit of a zoo. So I said, why don't I go learn a trade, get my high school degree, et cetera, et cetera. So get in there. What they did was they put us into 5 exploratory shops. And
Yep.
I was in culinary, automotive, auto body, electronics, and technical illustrating. And I saw the value of exceeding in each one of those shops
Mhm.
because the way that it worked was you got to pick your shop as long as you were in the top 100 students, say. So it came down to it. It was either going to be culinary or automotive because I really enjoyed fixing cars, which to this day is my side hobby. I drive my family crazy because I've always got one of the cars up on ramps in the driveway, but different story there. But my dad, again, my dad gave me advice when I said to him, Dad, what do I do? Do I become a chef or do I, go into the automotive business? And his reaction to me was, do you want to have dirty fingernails the rest of your life? Do you want to have dirty hands? And I'm like, well, no. He says, well, go out there and use your head and your hands instead of your back and your hands and pursue your culinary career. So it
That's
was the
amazing,
start.
and that's some
Yeah.
really good wisdom from your dad. Talk to us. How did it go? So you never went to culinary school, and by the way, there's a lot of listeners out there which feel, in order to be successful in this industry, I need to do culinary school. So I think you are a poster child. That's not really necessarily if you passionate about what you do, and you have
Mhm.
people which take care of you. Talk to us. How was your transition from being the guy in the kitchen to getting your first executive chef's job?
So that came about. I moved to another restaurant down the street from that little Italian restaurant where I had learned all the stations.
Mhm.
And at 17 years old, they were looking for somebody to run the kitchen. So I've always been a little more mature than my age, just again, the way I was brought up. We'll go back and give my dad kudos, God rest his soul. Um, so at the end of the day, the owner said, "This guy is the real deal. He's young, but he, again, I've already got a couple of years of culinary high school under my belt, the vocational high school. So I got a really good foundation. But I do attribute a lot of my success to the School of Hard Knocks, being in
Yeah.
the business. So when I left, I was the kitchen manager slash. I
Mhm.
didn't call myself an executive chef. 17, still wet behind the ears. Um, got a position at one of the more prestigious fine dining white tablecloth restaurants in the Boston area. Got a chance to go in there as an apprentice, through a communication with my school, and I immediately saw, I saw the green flags waving in the kitchen, like there's an opportunity here. So again, I
Mhm.
started Gamager, went to the ovens, went to the broiler, and then the piece de resistance was the saute station, where I had 18 items cooked a la minute, sauces in the pan, doing 150 meals an hour. The thrill of battle was for 6 years. I was the sous chef slash saute guy,
Mhm.
and that really kind of rounded my career. That School of Hard Knocks. That if you could work the saute station at this
Yep.
restaurant, you can work anywhere. You could work at any of the restaurants in Boston. So that really kind of leapfrogged my career. The executive chef, good friend of mine, graduated a year ahead of me from the same culinary high school, and he was never going to leave. He just retired last year after 44 years as the executive chef. So,
That's amazing.
uh, yeah, I had to jump at a fairly early age into my next executive chef role. And again, stayed in the restaurant business for a little while because that's what I knew. That was my comfort zone. Uh, Got married, married the uh, girl of my dreams. We had 5 children. So when it came to child number 3, it was, hey, really need to get a better quality of life here. You can't be the phantom dad and just be a paycheck. So I investigated the contract management business, landed myself a job at a very big, prestigious hospital for the big S company, the contract management company,
Yep.
and went into this property as the executive chef and learned. Now I've got a whole brigade of chefs. I've got, an AM chef, a PM chef, and 10 cooks and 2 cooks helpers, et cetera, et cetera. So that was my exposure to, again, doing over 5,000 meals a meal period, a lot of it retail. So I got that exposure, retail, culinary, and that was my first true larger management position. So I had to learn all of
Awesome.
the soft skills.
Yeah.
So, and that
So
was trial and learning on the job. Go ahead, chef.
So we have a lot of listeners here which are in their first executive chef position, or they considering getting into their first executive chef position. What words of wisdom or advice do you have somebody being in their first executive chef's position or considering an executive chef's position?
So in my current role as a corporate executive chef, I do a lot of help with the talent acquisition team, trying to find quality chefs to go into some of our communities. And I would say you need to have a balance. I call it the 2 T's.
Hmm.
It's talent. Obviously, you have to have culinary prowess. But the second piece is temperament. There's no room in our business. And I don't care if it's restaurant business, contract management, hotels, catering, whatever. There's no room for that quote unquote Gordon Ramsay syndrome. That's we all know that's part of his stick. That's like Emerald with Bam and et cetera, et cetera. Works very well for him, but doesn't work real well out in the field. You're gonna have that revolving door of employees, because I don't
Hmm.
have to preach to anybody on this call that um, one of the most difficult things right now is finding quality team members, and then retention. Retention is a huge piece. So you need to treat people with dignity and respect.
You're really good at that because you always see in people what they don't see in themselves. And for me, that's probably one of your superpowers. So having as many chefs working for you as you do today, what are some of the key traits besides the 2 T's, which give you a good insight how successful they're going to be in that particular location, and overall how successful they're going to be in the industry?
Well, it's easy to say performance based.
Mhm.
Obviously, I quote it all the time that performance is the price of freedom. If you're performing, you're not going to have me, the corporate chef, coming into your property and being that bad house guest,
Yeah.
opening all your cabinets, looking into your coolers, and then, popping the hood and doing a deep dive into your financials. So I would say keep your present business stable. And again, don't be afraid. One of the,
Mhm.
I'll say, shortcomings I had in my early career was I always thought somebody was watching me and I would get my promotion or my raise by my performance. Well, that's not always the case. Don't be afraid to shine a spotlight on the positive things you do. And again, there's
Agreed.
a fine line between cockiness and confidence. Be confident, don't be
Mhm.
cocky. And don't be afraid to let your immediate supervisors know what you do, how you accomplished it, share attaboy notes from
Mhm.
customers, clients, et cetera.
I absolutely love that. And so there's a lot of chefs in that area. So I'm interested in learning a little bit more of what insight you can offer to bridge the gap between wisdom, which is the experience you have in the kitchen, and the enthusiasm for younger chefs, which we say, hey, I want to go in there and change the world. Talk to us a little bit. How do you bridge that gap between knowing as much as you do and working with some of the younger chefs, which want to change the world overnight and maybe have a little bit of that Gordon Ramsay syndrome?
Well, again, that brings me back to that maturity and having done that once or twice already. So a lot of times in the younger chefs that want to, like you just said, just set the world on fire coming out of the gate, I think the best um, advice that I can give is baby steps. Start
Mm,
slow and don't do things just for the sake of doing them. Do things that are going to make an impact. And obviously, right now in the field, it's the impact is on post pandemic, making
yeah.
sure that we get the staffing, and then every single one of my clients says, Jim, somehow, some way, you're going to save me some money. So you've got to focus on the things that are important to obviously your clients, looking at things like the bottom line, customer satisfaction, and again, retention, making sure that you keep all the other things seem to be easy as long as I can stay away from being chained to the oven.
Mhm.
I'm a very expensive cook. So,
I love that. And over your career, you must have interviewed probably thousands or more chefs. If a chef is out there trying to interview with somebody like you, what are some of the tips and tricks you would give them to not just really knock it out of the park with the interview, to really let you as the interviewee to see and understand who they are really are and what they're all about?
but again, a lot of times image
Hmm.
matters. So, um, when somebody's interviewing for a chef's job, yeah, it's great to see somebody come in a suit, but they're really not applying for a suit, quote unquote, type position. Much rather see them come in a clean, starch, white chef coat, no jeans, no baseball caps, just look the professional image. I preach it out in the field on a regular basis. I have residents that I wear a toque and they see the toque and then, oh my God, I love your hat. And that just segues into, well, I earned it. I've spent so many years in the business and so many years in education, et cetera, et cetera. This is a point of difference between me and a cook. And if I,
Hmm.
again, no disrespect, but if I come out in a baseball cap, it doesn't have the same credibility as when somebody can see, oh my God, that's a real chef. He's got, he looks the part. So um, it's like the old Saturday Night Live skits, it's better to look marvelous, so it's a point of difference. But going back to the interview, that would be exactly my first impression. One
Hmm.
of the things I do is I always meet the candidate at the front door at the concierge desk, and I walk fast. Still got good knees and good hips. So if they can keep up with me and get to the interview space, and I look at body language. Are they winded? Did they have trouble keeping up? Because
Hmm.
everybody that's on this call and anybody that um, that knows the business, it's fast paced.
Yeah.
You've got
Yes.
you've got to hustle, and I've always said that. It's either, I say it on the line all the time. I get these younger chefs like, chef, you still got it, and I always laugh and say, son, I never lost it, and if you don't get out of my way, there's going to be footprints on your back. So
I love that. That's really a good telltale sign. I absolutely agree. And so you really, most of your job to David and the chefs you have is around mentoring. And we spoke earlier that I feel one of your gifts are definitely is that you can see within people what they don't see within themselves. So if somebody has somebody like you coming into their facility, how do you feel they could take advantage of your wisdom and your expertise? And how could they leverage you as a mentor, not just from a culinary side, from an interaction people side? I mean, you are an innovator. You're really good with people. You're good in presentations. You're a good team builder. For me, if I'm a younger chef and I have you come in the back door, I want to kind of become your best friend because I can learn so much from you. How, talk to us a little bit about, that whole mentorship you practice almost on a daily basis and how your chefs can take advantage of that.
perfect. Well, my style, first of all, I feel I have the best job in the company. My company lets me do the two things I'm passionate about, and that's obviously my culinary. You can see my white coat here, and that's teaching. My
Mhm.
secondary passion. Years ago, I contemplated going into teaching as perhaps getting out of the field on the regular basis, but number one, the compensation for teachers wasn't where it should be, and
Yeah.
that's always been an issue. And number two, I again have a large family, 5 children, 5 grandchildren. I never had the opportunity to kind of step backwards as far as that compensation piece. But my style is, again, I send out my calendar Wednesday of the prior week, so everybody knew what this Wednesday, last Wednesday, where I'm
Mhm.
going to be this week. So it's never a surprise attack. It's never a gotcha. I don't come
Mhm.
in, I don't sneak in the back door and try to catch people. Um, and then there's the other side of the coin where people say, well, Jim, you let them know you're coming. Aren't you afraid they're going to whitewash everything and dry lab everything and make sure everything looks perfect? I'm like, well, if they do that, then they're only hurting themselves.
Yeah.
Because again, my style of helping people advance is helping them kill the job they're in.
Mhm.
That's the easiest way to get upward mobility. So go ahead.
No, absolutely right. And if somebody does whitewash it, I think with your experience, you pick it up really easy. And then also you don't have a problem calling on them saying, hey, I know what you're doing here. Talk to me a little bit more about, you said about the creativity and the teaching. Talk to me about the innovation piece of your job. You have done some really disruptive, amazing things in the industry. Tell us about one experience where you created a whole new concept and the impact it had for you and for your organization.
That's one of the things that brought me to my present position
Mhm.
8 years ago. The CEO, fanatical about fresh food, fanatical about scratch cooking, and that fits my culinary culture in my wheelhouse. Uh, and he was an entrepreneur
Mhm.
and never accepted mediocrity or never accepted, you know, what's the hot thing now. He always wanted to know what's the next thing coming down the pipe,
Mhm.
wanted to be on the cutting edge. So he was the type of CEO to work with that when we gave him a project, he go, this is great. All right, what are you going to give me tomorrow? So he was always progressively challenging, and I thrive in that environment. I love
Mhm.
to be challenged. So, perfect example, I have a client in the New Haven area that wants to be the leader in kosher dining.
Mhm.
So kosher is a niche market. So we do many, many different kosher communities, but more so the traditional Eastern European Jewish fare. Well, this client challenged us to come up with a couple of new concepts. So what we're building right now for him is an Israeli street food concept. So he's going to get a lot of the finger foods and a lot of the things that kind of a nosh environment. And then due to his location, he has a lot of Southern and African American candidates, residents in another
Mhm.
building on campus. So we're developing a kosher soul food concept. So we're taking, traditional soul food and spinning it into a kosher environment, which hopefully we can go after that other piece of that niche market. And
Mhm.
then just this week, we haven't even rolled out this new retail concept for him. Due to hit the ground mid-January, he wants to see how we can make him the offsite kosher caterer in the area. So
Amazing.
wants a business plan, wants a menu, wants what's it going to take so that he can go to his board and get the financing. So that level of trust between us and the client, it's you can't measure that. You can't attach a dollar figure. It's you've proven yourself. I've asked you for out of the norm. You execute it. Well, here's another cookie we're going to throw into that cookie jar.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. I love the idea. I think there's an opportunity not just in our area, but kosher. I think is an opportunity overall to kind of grow not just an industry, grow a new following. I absolutely love that. So, in your experience, if there is a young chef trying to get into the industry, what words of advice do you have somebody who wants to start anew in the culinary industry?
goes back, excuse me, goes back to when you mentioned the word mentor. Um,
Mhm.
find a mentor, and our company is very much aligned with mentoring team
Mhm.
members and giving them. There's a program called CATS. It's a
Yeah.
Culinary Advancement Training Series. So we partnered with the CIA, wrote a syllabus, and there's mentors and mentees. So that helps. We also started an apprenticeship program where after 18 months, that apprentice would um, be well on their way to get an American Culinary Federation apprenticeship.
Mhm.
We've
That's awesome.
also aligned ourselves with the American Culinary Federation now. We've just added an online video concept. It's called Ruby. I know you're
Mhm.
familiar with it. So we put this Ruby program in so that any of our this is more for the team member that can get the basic skill set, because a lot of our team members used to be utility people 6 months ago. Teach them some light prep. Now we want to move them into a braise or saute. Let's let them watch a 7-minute video, sign off on it, and then the executive chef can work shoulder to shoulder with them. So that's the
Awesome.
environment that I'm going to preach out there. Is find for the beginning chef is find an established executive chef that's going to break the old rules where we, used to. I worked in places where the chef would put a line of flour down on the rubber mat and say, you don't cross this line, because you could always see the hungry guy with the lights behind his eyes that wants to take your job. So
I, I,
but
I
again,
love that.
performance is the price of freedom. I personally have written professional development plans for. I have 5 regional executive chefs that have a dotted line to me that support the
Mm,
business that I can't get to. Again, with 82 properties, it's tough to be nimble
mhm.
sometimes. Um, but again, a lot of times it's just giving them the tools that they need and being approachable. I check my ego at the
Mm.
door. I got the alphabet after my name. To me, that doesn't mean anything. It's you got to be willing to give back.
I,
And
I love that. And there's a lot of chefs out there which are so caught up in just putting out soup and working in their environment. You were the president of the Boston Epicurean ACF chapter. Talk to us a little bit about the people which want to kind of expand what they're working on and expand their network. Talk to us a little bit what advice you would have for somebody who is, hey, I just want to grow, I want to do something else. Um, how can they network?
Well, membership is, again, I get my pom poms out and be the cheerleader for the
Mhm.
ACF. It's not for everyone.
Yep.
Personally, I was exposed to it at a young age. Um, saw the senior chefs with their accolades and their just the aura of their presence. And I had very good mentors growing up. So part of me wants to give back as a
Mm.
mentor. So with the ACF piece, I've been a member since 1981. Shortly after I just graduated from college, I did go to school for a 2-year culinary degree
Mhm.
to help me in my resume. But again, going back to, I learned more in high school and the school of hard knocks in the restaurant business than I ever learned in a 2-year, small college
I
program.
absolutely love that
You
because
know,
I do agree going to a place and working first and then coming to the culinary school allows you to actually look at experience, the whole experience a lot different. That's, I believe, is a perfect makeup for a successful chef. So now my question is, when you near the tail end of your career, so you're in this industry 20, 30, maybe even 40 years. What advice do you have for a chef still to be successful and make an impact in the industry, and also how to disrupt the industry? You've been doing this for a very long time. So if you have somebody in the industry, and I don't want to call it stagnant, but somebody who just needs a little extra fire, what words of wisdom do you have for somebody in the industry for that long period of time?
I would say, again, just in our conversations, is find an entrepreneur, somebody that their brain works differently than most chefs, like yourself, that can help um, give people. A lot of times, the chef doesn't understand there are options.
Hmm.
Like, me being in the business 50 years, I have friends of mine saying, why for 50 years? I'm like, well, I was never smart enough to get out. And just kidding. I'm very passionate about what I do. I love what I do. But you got to channel that passion, and you've got to look at, again, is your health going to stand up? Again, I've been very, very fortunate that, being 64, I plan on slowing down, not completely retiring at 70. But when I'm 70, I don't know if I want to do what I'm presently doing, even though I love what I do.
Hmm. Yeah.
80 some odd communities with, just so many moving parts. You need to look for um, maybe different ways to supplement or augment your compensation, or something that you don't need to make the crazy money while you're semi-retired.
Yeah.
So
I
um,
love
I
that.
would say get your business card.
I can talk to you forever. And for me, these conversation, I think is what needed in the industry. You have a very good way of being very transparent of, this is not a great industry if you're not passionate about it. This industry can be really difficult if you don't take care of yourself, and you know that. This industry can also be very detrimental if you think you know more than other people. And for me, having the opportunity to be in this for almost 40 years, when I see chefs failing or restaurants failing, is because of that. And I think we need to have more of these conversations. But if you, as a listener, have enjoyed what you heard here today, you've seen it on the bottom, please join our community. It's called the Disruptive Chef Club. Go on there, put your information in there. What we're going to do for the month of December, we're giving one of our programs away, which is the Elite Publishing Lab, where we're teaching chefs how to write a book in 8 weeks or less. So if you sign up, we got to have 10 people we got to nominate and give that program 100% for free. It's currently a $2,000 program. We give you the program for free if you mention Chef Jim in your comments. Chef Jim, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, I am on social media. You can find me in LinkedIn. I'm trying to think.
Mhm.
Facebook. I'm in Facebook. Yeah. And I'd be more than happy if you need to share my contact
Mhm.
information. I would love to talk with someone, even in my own selfish reasons. If somebody's looking to make a change with 80 some odd properties in 7 states in New England, I'll find a home for
That's
you.
awesome. And my team just gave me a piece of information. They're saying Chef James's conversation was so amazing. They want to know more about him. So we have 3 rapid fire questions, and Chef James has not seen these questions, so being 100% transparent. So question number 1, Chef James, if you would have the opportunity to ban one ingredient forever, what is that ingredient and why?
Well, it's easy for me being in the senior business. I'm going to say salt.
Mhm.
There's no real need for salt. We can find layers of flavor through the Maillard effect, through um, fresh herbs, through just using our little bit of culinary chemistry. So that would be one of the things, because I was in some health issues many years ago, and it was due I was an abuser of
Mhm.
salt. So
That's awesome. That's a great answer. By the way, you got to make a
yeah.
lot of people very mad taking salt away. Question number 2 is, Chef, was there ever an experience where you broke all the rules, but the dish came out amazing?
I'm trying to think. I'm going to say yes. And actually, I'll go back to my American Culinary Federation. 20 years ago, I was in a national competition. It was a team of an RD and a CEC, or a certified executive chef. And we had all kinds of parameters to put out a dish that was under 750 calories, reduced sodium, high fiber, et cetera, et cetera. So I did a completely plant forward before plant forward was a thing 20 years
Mhm.
ago, and made the biggest mistake of my life and used all brand new equipment that I didn't season
Yep.
first. So I kind of broke the rules there, as far as should have known with the amount of experience I had that everything picked up that tinny taste. So the judges had a ball with me because they all knew me. They were my colleagues. They were just salivating to carve me the new one, and it was definitely a teachable
I
moment.
love that. So our last question is, what is a kitchen gadget which is way overrated?
Way overrated kitchen gadget. Something that wow, you definitely put me on the spot there. Kitchen gadget. I'm not a big fan of gadgets. I'm again old
Mhm.
school, so I'm all about using knives and so forth. So at first, I thought the microplane was the next best thing, but then come to find out, just a small grater does the same thing. You don't need, a 14-inch wand to do grading. So I'm going to pick on the
I
microplane.
love that. I absolutely love that. Chef James, I
Yeah.
really appreciate the gift of your time. I know I can talk to you forever. And for me, I hope the listeners realized that in order to be successful in this industry, you need a little bit more Chef James. And I encourage you to check him out and what he does on the social media. We're going to link all his information in the show notes on the bottom. And if you haven't done so, please follow us. We are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, we are now on TikTok, or go to disruptivechef.club and join our exclusive community where we give new things away. If we have something brand new, we create this group to give them the front row seat on all of the things new. And I hope you guys gotten as much out of this conversation as I did. So again, Chef James, I really appreciate you being here today and giving us the gift of your time and sharing your wisdom as freely as you did. So until the next time, to the Disruptive Chef community here, I'm your host, Christian Fischer. I hope you have the opportunity to change not your life, your cuisine. And I challenge you to be the chef who sets the world on fire. Until the next episode, we appreciate you being here today, and we talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.